One of the things I know we were talking about too is just how passionate our generation can be on social issues, and that's one of the things I know we were tasked with talking more about is kind of teasing out the reasons that millennials feel the way they do about certain social issues. And one of the real precedent-setting facts of our generation is that we support, by a large margin, we support same-sex marriage, and we support marriage rights for gay and lesbian couples. And it's still a pretty partisan divide. Somewhere in 30% of Republican millennials support same-sex marriage, and more than 70% of Democratic millennials support same-sex marriage. But I know we were talking earlier, and it's pretty contested to what extent this is a social issue and to what extent it's a human rights claim.
Considering all of the vast amounts of discrimination that homosexuals, the LGBTQ community has to go through, unfortunately, that the discrimination of whether you get to call yourself married or civil unioned seems more semantic than lots of the other adversities that this community has to face. Or would you argue that that's trickle-down social justice to say? And just as we were talking earlier about racial issues in the United States, it seemed to think once we gave women the vote, then there weren't issues with gender anymore. Once we gave minorities the vote, well, then we don't have minority issues anymore. Is it that we fail to see nuance, we fail to see structural underpinnings, and simply address the legal issue? In this case, are we simply addressing marriage, and then we're just going to kind of leave the rest of the adversity that this community faces, LGBT youth face, to something else that may never formulate?
I think one of the trademarks of our generation when we talk about social issues is this idea of moral relativism that we have that somehow almost seems to combine itself with moral absolutism. There are things that we just know are wrong around the world, and we say that they're wrong, but on a lot of social issues, we don't want to legislate our morality. In the last survey, when we talked about abortion, I think there was an overwhelming majority that believed that abortion was wrong, but at the same time didn't want to make it illegal. And I think that that's one of the best things about our generation, is that we're exceptionally tolerant. And I know that Emily said that that was probably because we're so diverse and we've had the opportunity to encounter and engage with so many different kinds of people.
To what we were talking about before with same-sex marriage and the DREAM Act, and to say that these are where clearly it seems that identifying with the other, that knowing people who are gay and lesbian and people who may be undocumented immigrants and personally encountering their stories and then developing some empathy for them has created a kind of a loyalty among our generation to these issues and support for them that cuts across political lines in some cases. But where we don't see that work nearly as well is in the affirmative action statistics and in the statistics that 64%, I believe, of millennials would be uncomfortable with a Muslim president. So these are clearly issues where more diversity is becoming a problem.
We were talking about social issues and the way millennials feel about social issues, and we're realizing as we've been teasing it out that it's based on our social experience and our relationships with other millennials, and the fact that we are growing up alongside people that look different from us in terms of their sexual preference, their race, their religion. Apparently some religions are still underrepresented in our generation in their exposure, but I think that is a real hope for the future, and I think we are pretty unified in the title of millennials in our optimism for the future.
All right.
I would say so.
Yeah.